Hey everyone, welcome to PunkCast. My name is William Maxwell. I'm a student of Web3 and the owner of Punk8624. CryptoPunks are 10,000 uniquely generated characters stored permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. No punk is the same. This is a show dedicated to celebrating the punks behind the punk. My hope for this podcast is that we capture the essence of the punk culture, elevate the brand and the individual behind the punk. One last thing. Projects discussed on the show is not financial advice. Crypto and NFTs are a volatile and risky asset class. Please always do your own research. Other than that, let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of PunkCast. Today we've got Punk8624. He's a 380, Mohawk thin, rosy cheeks, and a pair of cool regular shades. He's the founder and CEO of Ltd.Inc, a curated platform that partners with iconic artists, creators, and brands to launch rare physical and digital NFT collections and experiences. Please welcome to the show, Blokculture. Blok, how are you? Are you doxed or can we go by Blok?
Yeah, I'm fully doxed. Yeah. Daryl Kelly's my real name. Blokculture. God knows where that even came from many years ago, but it was like the idea behind, it was like 2020, I think it was when I started that. And it's like the idea of blocks on blockchain and culture being a kind of combo of the two. So, and at the time I couldn't get block culture with a C, so I ended up getting BLOK.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
Right. No, excited to have you on. Thank you for your time as well. And this is, been looking forward to this chat. Maybe if you could just start off with a brief introduction to yourself and your background and what sort of got you to where you are today.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm Daryl Kelly. I'm currently the CEO and founder of a company called Ltd.Inc, which you introduced. I come from a more traditional background of real estate, insurance, finance, gaming, of which these are companies that my brother and I actually set up in Barbados, which is where we've been based. We were born actually, and then grew up in the UK. Moved back when we were both. I was 18, he was 21, and we then started working. I did a fine art degree, and then he started his first business as an insurance broker, and I joined him, and then we continued to build our businesses together. So we've been doing that for the last 25 years in Barbados, and then in 2016, like many people, we had one of those friends and acquaintances who was big into Bitcoin and wouldn't shut up about it. Unfortunately, we ignored him for too long, but not forever. And I think I said to myself, I'm going to lock myself in my apartment and not come out, like long weekend, and not going to come out until I understand it. And yeah, it took me a couple of days, and I think I came out on Monday morning, and I was like, wow, this is going to completely change the world. And for the first time, Bitcoin created digital scarcity, or however you want to call it, digital property, digital assets became a thing, which is, really what we all have to thank for what now is an NFT and what could be identified as a token on a blockchain, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so from there, doing what we were normally doing, we continued, but on the side, I continued to just educate myself, learn, find where I fit into the space. And it was in 2020 that I launched my first blockchain related company called the Bitcoin Movement, which was is an art and apparel platform dedicated to creating streetwear and art with brands and artists focused on the brand of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a decentralized brand. Anyone can do anything they like with it. It's kind of that first concept of decentralized brand building. And so, yeah, we work with known artists and groups to create interesting campaigns, because at the time, much like, I wouldn't say today, but much like, let's say, a year ago in NFT space, the merch and the kind of the products that were coming out were pretty cheesy and pretty bad, to be honest with you. So me being a Bitcoiner, and I will admit I was a Bitcoin maxi for a long time, and I kind of, that's what brought me into the space. And I'm still a big believer in Bitcoin as an asset and as a truly decentralized blockchain. So yeah, I wanted clothing and kind of hoodies and stuff that I could wear, and that was actually something I'd put on instead of like Bitcoin billionaire boys and all this kind of stuff that was, pretty the only thing out there. Anyway, so yeah, we started like that, and it was under that company. We were one of the world's world's first companies back in 2020 to connect a streetwear collection to the blockchain via NFC technology. And we did that with the UK wrapper. We did 300 pieces, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, and we infused the products with NFC chips and then built our own phone app and then launched it. With the collectors who got the garments, they took out the app when they received it, they scanned it, and they got basically proof of authenticity. They got to know the edition number that they owned and the exclusive content that was created by us and the creator embedded into the product. So it kind of really offered a much more interactive and elevated product experience. And so, yeah, it was that really led us to launch the Ltd.Inc platform that we have today, which we launched in February. We spent another 2 years after that first project building on top of that tech and creating a platform that focused on physical digital NFTs. So while 99% of the market has been focused on digital only NFTs and drops and tech, we've really been building for 24 months that connection and trying to build something that allowed Web3 brands, Web2 brands step into the Web3 space in a kind of thoughtful way with tangible products. So yeah, that's kind of where we are today. That was my segue into the space, and excited to be here.
No, that's super fascinating background, and there's a lot of things to sort of unpack there. But I'm just sort of curious in terms of what made you lock yourself away for a whole long weekend to get your head around Bitcoin.
That's either how slow I am or how complicated Bitcoin is. It was quite, but back then it wasn't the literature, and it was still really misunderstood. And I think it still is today. People don't really get Bitcoin as an asset. They still think it's this dark web kind of product, But sorry, that's why I really, really, really wanted to understand it. And I think everybody who gets in this space should have an education about Bitcoin. You need to,
Absolutely.
You should really understand what it did, how it did it, when it did it. And that kind of all segues into why we're all here today talking about NFTs and the term Web3. Nothing would exist if it wasn't for Bitcoin.
Absolutely. And just out of curiosity, were you still based in Barbados when Bitcoin was there, or? So, and what was the vibe like in Barbados? Because were they sort of exposed to a lot of Bitcoin people and community there?
Yeah, pretty decent crowd, actually. There's a decent community for Bitcoin. Crypto was quite popular. We were surrounded by a few people who ended up really today being very, very big in Bitcoin. Like, Roger Ver's, all the kind of big names all came to Barbados quite a lot. There was a couple of, like Gabriel Bed is one of the big personalities in Bitcoin, and he's the guy I was talking about who was always talking about Bitcoin to us. So yeah, we knew him very well, and that was his number two. That was ended up being my brother's wife's brother. So it was like quite a small community there. So we knew each other quite well. So I'm not sure why exactly it had such a big presence there, but it was thankfully a big part of our lives. Once we understood it and really took it into our life, it really became big.
Awesome. And you're based in Paris now as well, right? So
yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what's the vibe like in Paris for crypto and NFTs?
Well, it is good. I haven't managed to connect too much with too many people yet. Again, I think the language barrier probably stops that a little bit, but there's definitely a scene here. I see it happening, and I've been more infused in the Bored Ape crowd than I have in the punk crowd. I only made that transition quite recently, and I know that the Bored Ape. I went to NFT Paris, and I went into the Bored Ape booth that they had there, and I had some beers with the guys and got a POAP and all that kind of stuff, and it's pretty cool. Nice vibe. I'm heading over to there's an NFT gallery which is opened in April, but honestly, I've had my head down building Ltd.Inc, and we only went live in February, and up until then and past up until just now, it's just been really hectic.
Crazy.
So I haven't had a lot of time to really get too much into it, but I intend to now.
No, well, hopefully you can change the punk vibes in Paris at some stage and get a bit more punk activity going on there.
Yeah.
And just going back to, I guess, your Bitcoin journey, I think you sort of mentioned that you were sort of a Bitcoin maxi at one stage as well. And, at what point did you I guess, transition off that and find your way, I guess, into Ethereum. What was that journey like?
Yeah. So Bitcoin maxi is a strong term. Now, I was and I am a huge believer in Bitcoin, and I don't think that will change as long as they keep the protocol the way it is and they don't extend the block size and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't turn into Bitcoin Cash, but stays pure to what it is. I'll always be a fan and a supporter and a holder. Why I was attracted to Ethereum is because Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and it's only good while it is what it is. If you start playing with the mechanics of it, it will no longer be the store of value that it should be. And Bitcoin should only be, in my opinion at least, that the strongest, the hardest money known to man. That's what it is. Hardest form of money. That has its purpose, and that will become a store of value for, I believe, up to government level. Countries will be using it as a store of value as part of their reserve currency. That's its power. Ethereum, now when Vitalik looked at Bitcoin and said, well, this is great, but actually you can do a lot more. And he said, okay, I want to turn this into a programmable money, programmable blockchain. And then he took that to the next level. So Ethereum is now sort of, the internet of money, and the next stage of the internet. So interactive, much more sort of flexible, and you can do just a lot more with it. And with what he's done and what the whole community have built on top of Ethereum was just really interesting and creative. And, that kind of got me going from my creative energy. And I thought, wow, there's so much going on here. And then the final one was learning about the ERC-721 token and essentially the creators' shares. And when I saw that, I was like, this is going to completely, kind of like a Bitcoin moment for me. Like, wow, you're telling me that artists can be rewarded a creator's share on every secondary sale in perpetuity. Like, that's insane. And that's going to be not just empowering artists and change that world, but it's going to change the entire, like, so many business models that we all are used to using, like subscription models, ticketing, like everything is going to change because of this tech. And yeah, so that was the kind of final straw. So it was, it was early on when I realized what was happening there.
So how, just sort of curious, how early was that? Like, when did you sort of dabble in Ethereum? And
so I was already doing it in late 2019 and 2020. So while I was still launching that collection with the wrapper on the Bitcoin brand, I was also investigating everything going on in Ethereum. And I had already minted NFTs. I minted my first NFT in March 2020, and I got it wrong because I was trying to mint NFTs on Bitcoin and realized it wasn't possible. And there is a program called Counterparty, and XCP is a token, and you can do it. And I did do it, but I needed more like programming knowledge beyond my knowledge. But I did manage to mint it, but I didn't manage to connect the image to it. So I've got these NFTs that I did in 2020 that are nothing, but at least they're kind of a symbol of my presence, at least.
What was it? What was it that you tried minting on Bitcoin?
So I'm actually an artist. So I tried to mint one of my own pieces. I do these pop pineapples that are kind of graphically merged graffiti with pineapples back to my Caribbean days. And I couldn't get the image to connect, so they're just blank NFTs.
Cool.
And yeah.
And what was your first NFT that you minted on Ethereum?
First NFT I minted was by an artist called Lambo, an Aussie artist actually, or Rareable. Again, that was pretty much the same kind of time then. I started looking at NFTs, and I was so focused on building a digital physical connection with Ltd.Inc. I had lost sight of this entire digital only ecosystem that was booming, and the power of it more so. Like, I knew it was there, and I knew it was this sort of community that was growing, but I'd stepped so far back and had my head so deep into the tech we were building, I kind of ignored the whole boom, really. And then I kind of, after buying that, that was a one of one, so I kind of built my first one of one, and then thought, oh cool, I'll have an asset now, but I didn't think much about it. And then it wasn't until July 2020 I kind of really was like, well, if I'm building this platform, I need to really understand the digital asset world. And I did my own deep dive there, and that was March, April 2020. And by July, I bought my first cool cat. Then I bought my first, like literally within days, then I bought my first World of Women. And then within days, I bought my first Bored Ape. And then within days, I bought my second Bored Ape. And then from there, I was just like, wow. And I caught it as well. There was a lot of hype going on. And I caught it just before everything really kind of shot off in the Bored Ape
Good
world, at
timing.
least. Yeah, and I was hooked. And then I was hooked in the terms of like, I love the digital asset world and collecting, building a collection of your own, but also just now like the community and this whole world is going to again change, collecting and what NFTs bring to the table is just incredible.
Absolutely. And so maybe let's unpack a little bit about what you're doing with Limited Incorporated. Like, what sort of inspired you to get started with that sort of business?
Yeah. Again, I think that comes back to Bitcoin and kind of this understanding of digital assets being a thing and how you can represent something physical on the blockchain through a digital token. In 2020, that's still quite a new concept. It still is a new concept today, really, because you're only seeing brands like Nike and Artifact. They did a NFC infused hoodie a couple of months ago. G Money's done his own NFC infused T-shirts. So we're still relatively early in the grand scheme of how this tech is going to affect culture and let's say streetwear and art and all this other stuff that I believe is going to completely evolve and change the way that people interact with their clothing, for example. So yeah, just that ability to provide proof of authenticity of a physical product on the blockchain was a really powerful concept to me, and something I just did a deep dive on and realized there wasn't a lot or anyone really doing it in a very in-depth way and thoughtful way. So we built the whole tech from the ground up, from scratch. We built our own platform, we built our own app that makes it very easy and very convenient and smooth to look at your NFT, look at your scan your physical piece, access all this really exciting content that can be embedded on the chip. So yeah, we spent 18 months building that. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so maybe if you can just help everybody understand what Limited Incorporated actually is. And then we can go
perfect.
into
Okay, so
some of the example products.
perfect. Okay, so yeah, Ltd.Inc is a highly curated NFT platform that partners with top tier brands, artists, and creators. We specialize in connecting physical products to the blockchain by NFTs. They're referred to, commonly I think in the space as digitals, even though we and I think pretty much everyone else hates that term. So whoever comes up with the real, yeah, exactly. Nick Carter's got a good one. He calls them full stack. He's got quite a big presence in that space. G Money. There's a few terms kicking about, and hopefully one of them connects rather than digitals. So yeah, we basically work in kind of three ways. We work to create, launch, and sell physical plus digital collections with brands, artists, and creators. We take an agency style position, so we like to walk our clients and hold their hands through the entire process. So we do conceptualization and look at their existing IP and what IP they may need to build in order to launch something. We do the physical plus digital creation of assets. So we have, through our investors, we have the ability to fabricate and create any kind of bespoke product. Waxman PR is our PR firm, and they actually, when we were doing our pitch to them to represent us, they're the founder of Waxman PR actually was invited on the call and said, "You need to come and see these guys." And he ended up investing in us. So he's now one of our shareholders. So we have a really good support system from a PR point of view. And then, yeah, sorry.
No, keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, and then that's kind of the first step of what we do. The second one is to provide collectors with the ability to verify the authenticity of physical products and access exclusive content. So apply that tech to art or streetwear or luxury goods, and that becomes a really powerful mechanism for collectors. And when you can truly sort of turn physical components like that into a store of value, that becomes a really valuable, I'd say, mechanism for brands and artists. And so through our tech, that's pretty much one of the big sort of things that we do. And then the third one is to create a trusted marketplace facilitating the secondary sales of these authenticated physical goods. So, trying to solve that kind of big black market problem of luxury goods, for example. Now, if Louis Vuitton or whoever that brand might be, or an artist applied the technology to their work or to their handbags or to their luxury goods, using a platform like ours. I mean, let's take Nike, for example, and the StockX model. Nike launched these capsule collections of their trainers. They sell for, let's say, $1,000, but on the secondary market, they're now selling for $4,000. Now, Nike are not connected to the resale value of those trainers. They're completely removed, so they never capture any of that value. With our technology, Nike launched it on Ltd.Inc. They sell those in the primary market. They sell them for $1,000. That's great. Sell out within minutes. Now, when those trainers sell for $4,000 on the secondary market, Nike are getting a 10% cut of every time that trainer changes hands. They're getting based on the Ethereum, the NFT that changes hands, they're getting a cut from that on the royalties.
That's cool. And how are you thinking about custody in that respect? Is, like, for example, would Nike manage the physicals and then just whenever it's redeemed, they just send it out, or do you sort of manage that internally?
Yeah, well, we can manage it. We have done for certain clients, but I imagine someone like Nike, who has all of their own manufacturing processes and structure put in place, we would then simply provide them with the text.
Got it. And so basically, it's a primary launch pad with a secondary trading element. But in terms of custody, it's mostly handled by the brand itself. Yeah, and I had a look at some of the stuff you did with. Yeah, definitely. I could sort of see that's much needed. But I saw you did a pretty cool drop with Deadfellas and Wrangler as well. So
yeah, that was super cool.
Cool. And all right. And are you working with any other particular brands at the moment, or in the pipeline?
Yeah, we did Wrangler, Leon Bridges, Wrangler. We paired Wrangler with Deadfellas and did what we called Undead Denim. Put 20 vintage jeans out of the Wrangler archive and put chips in them, and then bound them to NFC and connected them to a comic book that was created by Deadfellas. That was pretty cool. Shimodu, who's a world famous photographer. So we launched one of the world's first physically NFC infused physical photography collections. So again, providing royalties back to the Shimodu estate on the sales, on the secondary sales of physical art, which I don't think it's really ever been done in the traditional art world. So we're kind of trying to disrupt that space as well. And then looking ahead, I think because of our tangible element, we get approached by big traditional brands. So we've had some pretty big conversations with traditional fashion brands, luxury products. They're looking to kind of step in a bit in a kind of, not in a big way, because everyone I think at the moment is a bit cautious with the bear market, but certainly exploring opportunities. And luckily what we do is we're not here trying to tell everyone to jump in here and do a 10,000 PFP collection, but rather, step in thoughtfully, carefully, know your market, know your audience, and try and pair them with a native Web3 brand that already has an existing community, for example, and really try and pair them well so that there's an actual happy response.
That's really cool. Because I definitely do see a lot of Web2 companies coming in. I think they hear buzzwords Web3, NFT, and I think they approach it top down, but not really getting the underlying cultural elements that's really important and critical to actually launch a successful Web3 product.
Big time. Yeah, it's a big miss, I think, a lot of time.
Absolutely. And I sort of notice every morning in your good morning tweets, you're always finishing off with invest in culture. Maybe if you'd elaborate what you sort of mean by that, and because culture and Web3 definitely go hand in hand, but what does it sort of mean for you?
Yeah. So I had when I bought the domain for Bitcoin Movement, which was in 2019, I bought the domain for Ltd.Inc as well. So I kind of already had this vision to create this platform that allowed collectors to really connect with creators through what at that time was kind of like art on the blockchain. And so NFTs for me are one of the most powerful mechanisms for creator and audience, or fan and creator, to kind of connect. So you're kind of cutting out the middleman. You're allowing both to connect with each other directly. And so investing in culture really meant like if you're an artist, you are the creator of culture. If you're a fashion designer, if you're any kind of creator, you are essentially carving out and pioneering today's culture or culture of the future. And so NFTs are just kind of little pieces of that. So when you invest in it, you're taking a chunk and you're saying to the person, I believe in you, I'm investing in you, and I want that. And the NFT you get back is the token of ownership, it's the piece of art, it is the culture. And I suppose that's
Absolutely.
where that comes from. I don't know if that was
Nice.
explained clearly, but I think that's what I mean.
No, I think it's full of it, right? And I think you've picked a spot where fashion is culture. It's a form of self-identity as well. Identity is a really big social signaling element of what culture is, right? So yeah, no, totally get it.
Like Wrangler said it really well. We work with Sean Gormley, who's the creative director there. He's a real pioneer himself, and their ethos at Wrangler is to give people the confidence to step into new frontiers, thrive in new frontiers. And that's kind of why we all got together with Wrangler, because they also had this vision of what just Web3, the metaverse, NFTs being the next frontier. And that was kind of, the culture just is so vibrant in this space. I think it's where everything is happening right now. Like, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else than trying to carve out some form of creative space in the kind of Web3 space.
No, absolutely. And then, mate, so maybe just moving back the conversation to CryptoPunks then. So when did you actually buy your CryptoPunk? It was pretty recent, right? I think.
Literally like 2 weeks ago. I think it was like 3 days after I had my firstborn child. So I was like very, very tired. I'd been scouring, I think like most people, when they're going to do something like this, I've been looking at the CryptoPunks.app page for weeks, months, years. I mean, I've really, since I sort of found them, always been looking at them. And yeah, I think I took the plunge, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
So maybe let's walk through, I guess, your decision-making process here. I think you've got, it's a 3-attribute, thin mohawk, regular shades, and rosy cheeks. He looks like a really cool dude that carries a lot of culture. But of all the punks that you could have chosen, like, why did you hone in on this one?
I think I was really scouring. I couldn't find one that really had the punk feel that I was looking for. Like, when I was going to buy a punk, I wanted it to be the punkiest punk I could find. And I'm sure there are other punkier punks out there, but given the time frame and chance of it happening while I was looking, this one just popped up, and I put offers in. I wasn't like lowballing people, excuse me, but I was definitely putting offers in and trying to get a good deal on them, because the floor was fluctuating. But yeah, I absolutely love the Mohawk. So I knew whatever one I did buy, I wanted it to have a Mohawk. And luckily, no one really accepted my offers. And then this one popped up. It was 3 a.m. I'd just done a call with Deadfellas and Wrangler and Betty. We'd just done a Twitter show. And because they're in Australia, it was 3 a.m. my time. I'm in Europe. And the baby was asleep. Everything was quiet. And I said, okay, well, I'll have another peek at the CryptoPunk. And literally just saw this one for the first time. Whoever was the owner before put it on. It couldn't have been on for more than a few hours. And I was like, wow, okay, this is super cool. It's 75 ETH. I was like, that's basically the budget I was planning. And I took it off. I made an offer of 70 immediately. That was it. And then I think I waited about 6 minutes, and then I bought it for its full price. I have no patience when I find something I really want or that I thought was good value, because I did a quick rarity tool check and realized that Rosy Cheeks is actually a really rare trait. It's like 124 punks. It's like a 12th rare trait. So I was like, wow, okay, well, either he's just looking for liquidity quickly, and I believe other people were all, because it's a busy space, people do take them off the floor if they're a good deal. And I thought, someone's going to snipe this if I don't. So I did it. Yeah. And I've been happy ever since. I love it.
Beautiful. No, he's a super cool punk. And I guess, just out of curiosity, like what made you, I guess, interested in punks? You said you were looking at a punk for quite some time. But I guess what sort of stirred your interest? Because I know you're on Bored Apes and some other projects as well.
Yeah. Well, I suppose CryptoPunks are what started it all at a very basic level. They'll go down in history, or have gone down in history, as the spark that inspired even the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection and every other kind of 10K project. So punks are the most blue chip, if you can say anything's blue chip in this space. But if you can, then punks are definitely as blue chip as they get. And I think they are a safe haven, and probably one of the kind of purest store of value in this very early NFT space. And I think they'll be remembered forever, and have probably secured themselves their position on the art history timeline. So, there's some significant points in art history where there's a moment and things just change forever. There's a new movement, whatever that might be. And I think NFTs are a turning point into like a digital renaissance that we're probably entering. Big paradigm shift in the way that art will be created, will be collected. And so, yeah, I believe at this point, as we head into a more digital world, and as digital assets are now a thing because of Bitcoin and because NFTs and the metaverse, and digital ownership will become part of life, they're just such a significant part of that, and they kind of sparked that first step. So I think holding one is got to be something that people will want to do in 5, 10, 15 years when it's all more understood.
Absolutely. And so what were you rocking as your profile picture before the punk?
My Bored Ape, my holy grail of apes. So I went through a couple of apes when I first bought one. I bought my first ape at 8 Ethereum, and then my second at 18, and then traded up again and bought the one I have now. So he's like a devil with horns, and he's a merge ape. He's got a Bored Ape t-shirt, which I always like the thought of, because you can use the brand in your own merchandise if you've got an ape that's branded. So for me, it was all about the IP. That's why I didn't buy a punk originally, because they didn't give the IP to the owners. And that's why I transitioned into punks now, because Yuga bought them and have given the IP to the NFT owners. Because I probably wouldn't have still bought a punk had they not done that.
Oh, interesting. No, it's a nice ape you've got as well. I've got a similar ape with horns as well.
Nice.
Mate, and I'm just looking. I've got your OpenSea wallet open. You've got a lot of interesting stuff in the bag. Just throwing out the question for you. I mean, what do you like collecting the most, and more importantly, why do you collect?
Okay, so what do I collect and why? Originally, I suppose I did it because I was investigating the space and trying to understand it all. I then quickly got sucked into the culture of it and the community of, let's say, the Bored Apes, which is where I spent most of my time. I had 2 apes. I've sold one. I got the punk. I've got 1 ape now. I've got 2 mutants, 1 coda, 7 plots of other side, 1 cool cat, 1 world of women, 1 chromie squiggle, which I absolutely love, 2 curio cards, a pixel map. Like, I love the relics and the kind of the ones that started it as well. I've got a Fluocious, Deadfellas, Bomb Squad, Sabet, and recently I've gone more into like supporting, I suppose, now that I feel like I've got my PFP NFTs covered, if you like, and I'm trying to get more into the actual art side of it, which is what would have originally brought me here. And so people like Guido who are really making waves in the space. Like, I love his project he did with Sicilian Kiss, where he did a free min and he ended up with 14,000. Guido DeSalle.
Guido, okay, yep.
Yeah, he did a project, and he kind of was one of the first, or probably the first, to do a free mint in that style. And he got 14,000 collectors overnight almost, and they just paid the gas fee. And the project's called the Sicilian Kiss, and it was just a really impressive way for like an artist to kind of build a digital community really effectively and kind of give back, art to people. And for many people, it was the first piece of art they owned. It was the first NFT they owned. And all they had to pay was the gas fee. They didn't have to pay for the art itself.
So that's a photography project, right? Guido's a photographer?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've never been able to get my head around photography NFTs because I think, in my mind, you could sort of think about gen art, algo-driven, co-creation, etc. And I think for me, for the longest time, photography feels a little bit low if it's not the word, but I think it just feels a little bit different in the sense that you can just snap, shoot, and then mint, right? And I just didn't get that sort of connection with it. But I guess what do you sort of see in photography NFTs? I mean, I see one that you've got in Red Elegance. I mean, these ones are really, really nice, man. These are really cool.
That's my Frank Beaubourg, French photographer. I think it's going to be huge. I think it's hugely underrated because of exactly the reasons you just said. People believe it's, low effort, mint, and, hope people come across it. But it comes back to digital assets, and people really, truly, and again, I think that's wildly misunderstood still, the power of owning a digital asset and that being enough. And I say that while I'm also building a platform to make that physical. But I'm such a big believer in digital assets and the ability for people, digital natives, to just hold digital assets in their collection and enjoy them as digital only assets. And so photography is kind of almost a natural progression for people to turn their visual images into NFTs as photographs. So I think they're going to be huge. Yeah. And I like collecting them. I've got Chimodi's work, which we launched, and I buy Guido, which we also worked with. We turned his collection into a physical collection. We did a 50-piece limited edition collection of his Sicilian Kiss. So yeah, I think people should keep their eye out for really, dedicated artists who are not just literally going outside, taking pictures with their phone, then minting them on OpenSea and hoping people buy them as photographs, but rather find real photographers, find real artists, look at their history. The guy Frank who I bought, he's a seasoned exhibitioner. He's a real artist. He's traveling around the world. He's taking actual beautiful, really well thought out photographs, and he's put them on OpenSea for like 0.2 Ethereum. That is insane. No, his prints that you can buy on these platforms where they just print out, a not limited edition, but rather an open edition, let's say, just like a poster. They sell for $75. So I bought an original one of one from him as an NFT for the same price, but I get to own that one of one. So there are so many opportunities out there to work with artists like that.
No, it's a beautiful collection. It's got that sort of afternoon hue and sort of classic sort of feel, from a nostalgic feel to it.
Just really nostalgic, beautiful. Yeah. I'm a sucker for neons. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm having those.
Awesome. And then when you reflect on, I guess, your NFT sort of career to date, do any sort of wins or special moments pop up in your mind?
As in collecting, like my own
collecting, learnings, insights. Yeah.
So I suppose getting in early on Bored Apes would be one as a lucky moment. It actually happened because I was going to buy a Bored Ape and put 50 Ethereum aside. I had chosen the one I wanted, and when I woke up the next day, I didn't pull the trigger because it was really volatile. Woke up the next day, and it was the day that, I forget who it is now, a collector cleared the floor of 80 or 74 punks. That's what it was. And overnight, punks had become out of my reach, basically. I wasn't willing to spend more than that at the time. And so I pivoted directly into Bored Apes. And luckily for me, that was the right move at that time. So I would consider myself quite lucky. And, a lot of it was chance. A lot of it was also me watching the market and waiting and trying to, attempting to take the right move or to pull the trigger. And so, yeah, I feel like that was the start of it all, really. And from there, I've always been a bit cautious. I've certainly had losses. Oh, my God, I bought some utter crap along the way, like most people. I've been rugged. I forget the name of that project. Boneheads, was it? I don't know. I don't want to speak badly about anyone either. Maybe they're still doing things and it's just tough. It's a tough market out there. So I don't want to be like, they rugged me. But I haven't seen a lot come out of their Twitter, and I don't know. But yeah, that was probably one that I could have just flushed money down the toilet.
Bored Apes was huge, right? I think it was like, so I think it surpassed everybody's expectations in terms of what they were able to do, which is really, really cool.
It's amazing what they've done. What they've they've just taught the entire world how to share the wealth, give back, treat your holders like shareholders, not customers. And I think
Absolutely.
they'll be studied in school for years to come.
Well, I think in some ways they pioneered, I guess, the concept of utility, right?
Yeah,
Airdrops and all those other bits and pieces, which is a really fascinating and interesting way to unlock value for your
yeah,
holders.
absolutely.
And then do you have any sort of big insights or lessons in NFTs that you sort of uncovered for yourself? Like there was a special moment or?
I would say NFTs, I suppose, is a simple rule: buy what you like. Don't try and chase gains, unless you're, DJs will be DJs and people are here just to speculate and flip. If you're doing that, go for it. That's part of the market as well. But if you're here to collect and take it slow and build a thoughtful collection, do your research, go back in time, see why things became valuable, what made the community strong, and then buy with your heart. Buy a collection because you want to have a collection, not because you're trying to make money from it. And chances are you'll do well from it if you're buying things you like.
Awesome.
From a crypto point of view, because that's really where I've come from before NFTs, I would say buy as much as you can. Hard assets are out of the reach of young people today. You can't buy. It's very hard to get on the property ladder. It's very hard to get assets in your hand because it's everything's just so expensive. So crypto is kind of like this generation's opportunity to create a portfolio of hard assets. So buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum, buy quality NFTs. If you can get your hands on CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, Fidenzas, Autoglyphs, I don't know, they're all up there and way expensive, but fractionalize them. Do what you can to build a portfolio of these hard assets, because that's today's version of our parents' property that they were buying when they were 20 to 40 or whatever. Yeah,
Absolutely. Cool. And when you look out into the crypto Twitter space, who's your favorite punk personality that you like coming across?
favorite punk personality. So I'm still kind of getting in tune with the punk community and who's who, but I would say Gary V has been someone I've aligned with on a lot of his kind of points of views. He's really positive influence on the space and on young people in general. He's got a really good kind of outlook, and he's very energetic, and I think he's really positive. And while he doesn't have a punk as his profile picture, he has plenty of punk. I would say Bobby Hundreds is awesome, what he's doing. I know he's a punk holder, and big support of what he's doing. He did with the Hundreds, doing Adam Bomb Squad. And then I think 6529 is obviously just a legend out there. Keep doing what he's doing. He brings a lot of value, knowledge to the space. I follow all of them.
And if you were to describe punk culture in a few words, how would you describe them?
Punk culture in a few words. Original, disruptive, creative, and just long term. If you get one, diamond hand it, because it's part of history.
Awesome. Mate, and I know these are pretty heavy questions for somebody that's just been a punk owner for a few days, for a few weeks, but it's worthwhile asking. And then
Definitely.
if you could pass on a message to the next owner of your punk, what would you like to say to them?
To the next owner of my punk, give it back, you thief, because I'm not selling. Probably, yeah. I'm not selling this one. I mean, maybe if I trade it up to another one, but I love the big beards as well. So if I get my hands on a big beard one day, I might trade this one. But no, I don't think I would sell it. So yeah, I've been hacked. Give it back.
No worries. And mate, and lastly, I guess closing comments from your side, and how can sort of people reach out and find you and connect with you?
Yeah, okay. So my personal account is Blokculture, BLOK culture, and .eth. So that's my wallet as well. Ltd.Inc, which is the company we're building and trying to, work with a range of creators to keep disrupting and doing things that maybe haven't been done with NFTs before. We're not coming at it in the way that I think a lot of brands have for that whole just digital side. We're really trying to carve out an original kind of idea and just do wacky stuff. We're at the end of the day, we're kind of an experimental studio. We're just trying to do things that haven't been done before and get creative. So yeah, Ltd. Inc, Ltd.Inc_official, or the website www.Ltd.Inc. Passing thoughts or final thoughts. Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for having me. And this is one of the most exciting spaces I think that exists today, and I'm just really happy to be here and doing what we're doing. So look forward to seeing you all in the Twitter community.
Awesome, mate. Daryl, thanks for your time today, man. This is fun, and
Likewise.
look forward to seeing how you sort of progress in the space with Ltd. Inc. And best of luck with that.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, and guys, I think that wraps up our show for this week. So yeah, that's a wrap, and we'll come back again next week. Bye now.
Thank you.